Peter and Paul grew up with different views to show. One from a bankrupt farm in town, the other from a hardened ghetto. But both of them heard the call just as soon as they turned 18. Said goodbye to their families, heading off to become Marines.
Hi, I'm Dr. Skip Russo, and I direct the Medical Virtual Reality Lab at the University of Southern California Institute for Creative Technologies. And within our lab, we focus on the use of virtual reality across a wide spectrum of clinical problems or clinical challenges in healthcare, mental health specifically, but also physical and cognitive rehabilitation. And so I started thinking about, could we use virtual reality as a tool to deliver exposure therapy? Exposure therapy, it might sound counterintuitive when you first hear about it, but it's what's considered to be a trauma-focused approach where you help a patient in imagination to go back to the trauma and to talk about it and to confront and reprocess these very difficult emotional memories. A lot of times people after a traumatic experience that develop PTSD, they typically try to avoid thinking about it or avoid going to places that remind them of the trauma. And that perpetuates the continued PTSD set of symptoms, you know, the agitation, the hyperactivity, the avoidance of going to places, again, that remind them of the trauma, or the emotional numbing that might occur, the nightmares, flashbacks, those types of symptoms. So the issue with the traditional format was it didn't always work for everybody, and that's pretty tall order to ask somebody that's been traumatized to sit there, close their eyes, and imagine everything that they've been trying to avoid thinking about for the last, 5 months, 5 years, decades. And so we had the idea, why don't we create a virtual reality exposure therapy system where we could put clients in simulations that were not an exact replica of what they went through, but were pretty darn close. And it was enough to emotionally activate them and to also have the capability for a clinician to adjust the settings in the worlds that we'd created in real time, so that as the patient would talk and narrate their experience wearing a VR headset, the clinician could adjust the experience in virtual reality, change the time of day, the lighting conditions, the sound effects, the number of people in the scenario, maybe a bomb going off in the distance or one blowing up right under your Humvee. All these different controls were possible so that the clinician could kind of amplify the experience of going back to confront and reprocess these difficult emotional memories in these simulations. And they're quite emotionally evocative, even if they may look a little cartoonish. That we found that didn't matter. By being immersed in these virtual environments, we were able to pull up these emotions. And it's hard medicine for a hard problem, but it does work. It does help people to reprocess these things by confronting them. And as they do it more and more, I don't want to say agony, but the stress of processing the trauma tends to go down. So I think we're on a good path for breaking down barriers to care and getting people in. Again, it's hard medicine for a hard problem. This is not playing video games to get rid of your PTSD. This is an approach that takes a bit of work, and it does get harder before it gets easier because you're peeling back the scab of an emotional wound. But by doing that, eventually that scab dissipates and good skin heals over it, and you start to be able to move on in life and start to enjoy the things that you did before the trauma. We really want to get this stuff out on a wider scale. One group that's helped us out dramatically in this area is a foundation called Soldier Strong. Now, this is a foundation that's had a veteran-focused support interest for about 10, 12 years. And it initially started by providing exoskeleton robotic devices for patients with spinal cord injuries so they could stand, they could walk, they could move around. And they came to us a couple of years back and said, we want to support your work. And so I said, well, how do we do that? And they go, well, how about we help you finish up the updating on your software to get it up to spec for the current state of the art. And we provide for any VA that would like to do this treatment the latest version of your system, and we provide all the equipment. And it was like, are you kidding me? That would be great. And so we had finished the update right before COVID, and in the month and a half before everything shut down, we got 14 systems out to different VAs with a long list of VAs that wanted it. We had to kind of tamp things down during COVID, but we're ready to start ramping up again now that the vaccine's available and start to get these systems out to centers. So if you're hearing this and you're interested in getting the system, there's no cost. Soldier Strong, look it up online. Incredible organization that is really trying to make a difference in the lives of veterans and service members that have done their best to serve their country and deserve our best efforts to make a difference for them.
Hi, my name is Dr. Raymond Cho, and I'm a professor of psychiatry at the Baylor College of Medicine and also president and medical director of Houston Mind and Brain. We focus on things such as depression, OCD, cognitive impairments, and other serious mental illnesses that cause some significant impact on people's lives. Some non-medication therapies are available in the form of brain stimulation. So instead of taking a pill every day, one can receive stimulation in various forms in a non-invasive way. So there's nothing probing the brain physically, but these therapies can be highly effective. And one of those therapies is called transcranial magnetic stimulation. So that's a mouthful. So people call it just TMS for short, transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS. And that refers to a form of therapeutic for the brain that involves magnetic fields that are applied transcranially. That means through your scalp and skull and directed at various brain targets. And what's remarkable is that this therapy can be extremely helpful for things such as depression and OCD, and even more recently, it's been found to be effective for things like stopping smoking habits. And all these three indications that I just mentioned, depression, OCD, and smoking cessation, have actually been approved by the FDA. So just like the FDA thoroughly reviews and approves new medications, the FDA is also a body that reviews device-related therapeutics, including TMS. So this therapy has been actually around for quite some time, and I think it's a very unfortunate tragedy that so many people don't even know about this really effective therapy. Of course, everybody knows about medications, and just to give an example, with depression, many depressed patients have gone through multiple medications, sometimes having to be hospitalized, sometimes with very severe life circumstances, such as considering or attempting suicide. But all they've been tried on is a series of medications that either due to inefficacy, not being effective for the depressive episode, or not being able to tolerate the medication due to a number of different side effects, there's a loss of hope at the end of that road because of this ignorance of other alternatives, such as TMS. This is what the TMS device actually looks like. So depending on what specific type of device manufacturer, it may look a little bit different, but this particular device is made by BrainsWave, and the patient sits in this comfortable chair, and these different helmets, one is blue, one is yellow, have different purposes, although they look very similar except for the color. The blue one, within the helmet, there's a coil that the way it's configured will target the left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. That's a front left part of the brain, and that's a very critical site to target for the treatment of depression. The yellow helmet, on the other hand, is a quote OCD helmet, because the coils within this helmet target it's still the front part of the brain, but more in the midline section, and that brain area is very critical for the treatment of depression. So as you can see, there's a little head strap here. The patient will put on the helmet, and we strap them in so that it fits snugly. Magnetic fields are what's actually administered is fairly strong, but they also weaken very quickly. So unless the helmet is on fairly snugly, the patient may not be getting the full therapeutic effect of the magnetic pulses. So the basic procedure involves putting on the helmet. The first session will determine exactly where that helmet should be and how strongly the stimulation should be for that particular person. And then they sit in this chair wearing the helmet, and typical treatment lasts about 20 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tana Fletcher. I am a U.S. Navy corpsman. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan in 2003. I am the program director for Grace After Fire. I'm coming to you today from the National U.S. Armed Forces Museum here in Houston, Texas. I would like to share with you the amazing programs and services of Grace After Fire. We are a nonprofit specifically for women veterans and their families. Our services include financial assistance, peer-to-peer support groups, retreats, social events, resource navigation, and health and wellness. If you have any questions, if you know of a woman veteran that is in need of our services, or simply would like to connect to other women veterans for hope, connection, and purpose, please check out our website at graceafterfire.org.
Hi, I'm Tim Stroud, your former combat medic in the United States Army, and I'm here with Easterseals of Greater Houston to say thank you. Thank you to those who have served our nation in a grateful manner, and their family members, and all the patriots in the United States watching this right now. Easterseals of Greater Houston is here for two reasons. We're here to give you help and hope. And one of those ways is through our service dog program. Take Colton the Wonder Dog right here, for example. Most veterans, as they transition out of the military of their camouflage uniforms into the corporate gray or blue of the world, they do so with a little bit of uncertainty. Some of our veterans and their family members need the comfort or the constructive things that he does from time to time. Sometimes people call them tricks, but as Allie will tell you in a moment, service dogs don't do tricks, they actually do tasks. And he does everything from help with mental health to helping out and leading or giving a helping hand from around the house, which you may see here in just a little bit. Allie's going to tell you a little bit more about service dogs and the training it takes to get them up to par.
Thank you, Tim. My name is Allie Keaton, and I'm with myservicedog Incorporated. And we've been working with Easterseals and their veterans program for 8+ years now. And it's been a true pleasure to work with the veterans. And we have designed several programs, and one of our new programs, our newest programs, is Veterans Train Your Own Service Dog. And we're finding it to be quite successful in that it's helping them to not only learn how to train their own service dog this time around, but when they need their next service dog, they know how to do that. And we're doing it online as well as one-on-one training in public places. And it's really been successful, and Colton here is he's one of the greatest dogs, and Tim here is one of the greatest veterans that I've ever worked with, and I can't tell you how just my heart is full.
A lot of our veterans, as they transition, they don't have $20,000 to $40,000 to get a service dog that's going to pass all of the tests that will get them accepted around the country. And so that's where we step in. Because of our benevolent partners, we're able to get a fully trained service dog with 2 years of care at no cost to our veterans. And that gets them through their hump and gets them on the road to recovery. And so for everyone watching, if you need some resources, please make sure that you check us out on eastersealshouston.org.
Hi, my name is Yecenia Jimenez, and I served in the United States Air Force for almost 12 years. Most of my career, I was stationed overseas in places like Okinawa, Japan, Lajesville, Portugal, Afghanistan, and then Missouri. While I was in the Air Force, I witnessed a lot of things that I didn't expect I was going to witness, especially when I was in Afghanistan. And that left a mark on me, causing me to have PTSD, anxiety, depression, and survivor's guilt. That's why when I medically retired from the Air Force, I wanted to have a service dog that can help me focus, that can help me find a purpose, that can help me live a normal life again. And here I am with Coleman Coco Caban. He's a puppy. He is only 8 weeks old, and I have been training him since I got him 2 weeks ago. So it's been a really good learning experience because it's like raising a baby. But he has helped me get out of bed, get out of my apartment, care for someone else other than myself, and make sure that at the same time I'm taking care of me, because that way I'll be my best for him. So he is going to be able to help me go places that I haven't been able to visit since I left the military 3 years ago because of my PTSD and my anxiety. He's going to help me also understand that I am valuable and that I'm worth it, and that I can have a real and normal life like everybody else.
Hi, I'm Elise Hoff. I'm the CEO of Easterseals Houston. We are part of an affiliate network nationally. Easterseals is one of the largest providers of services outside of the government for military families. And I love what we do. We started specifically focusing on veterans about 6 years ago. We got some seed money. And since then, we have grown and we're serving a couple thousand military families every year. We also are the lead of a collaboration that includes 16 organizations. We provide everything from employment support to trained service dogs, but the core of our services are case management, which helps people find the resources they need. So whether that's within Easterseals or within our collaborative network or in the larger community, we help people find what's available for them. And one of the other most important components is mental health services. What I think a lot of people don't realize is that for many veterans, their military culture has taught them to be self-reliant, to look out for other people, to rescue someone else. And so it's extremely difficult to ask for help. We're here and we hope to be part of the process that helps remove the stigma from getting mental health services. We do everything from telehealth, where you don't have to come in person, and that helps us reach people who are in rural areas, for parents of young children who don't have transportation or childcare. But it also helps for a lot of people with PTSD or who are severely depressed, who don't want to leave their home. We do provide in-person services as well, and group therapy. We provide peer-to-peer supports, which is where you can talk to another veteran who's walked the walk, who's lived the life that you have and understands what you've gone through. And really one of the most exciting things for me was Texas Health and Human Services funded Texas Veteran and Family Alliance. And that allows us not only to serve the veteran, but their family members. The VA has incredible resources available for veterans, but for many of the spouses, for caregivers, for children of veterans, they may be underinsured or uninsured, and they don't have resources that help provide mental health services for them. So we try to complement our core services with additional things like financial coaching to help people understand how to use their money, how to build for something they want in the future. We help people find housing and buy their first home. We provide emergency assistance with COVID. I've been so moved by the generosity of our community and how fast the government actually worked to help get resources to families. And because we're a trusted provider, people came to us for help. So we've been able to help a whole lot of families get out of a really dire, difficult financial circumstance that wasn't of their making. We provide fun stuff too, like play groups for kids. We're doing a lot of it virtual right now, but hope to go back to in-person. And we provide respite for caregivers. So that's just a little bit about what Easter Seals does, but on the national level, I want you to know there's probably a resource in your community. If it's not Easter Seals, we can help you find it. And just a little bonus, our national CEO happens to also be a veteran. Thank you so much.
My name is Angela Williams, President and CEO of Easter Seals. With over 30 years of experience in nonprofit and corporate arenas, and having served on active duty in the United States Air Force, I further Easter Seals' mission to change the way the world defines and views disability and to ensure our military veterans receive the supports they need when returning home. Easter Seals has been an invaluable resource for people with disabilities, veterans, and seniors, as well as their families, caregivers, and communities for more than 100 years. Our national network of affiliates delivers outcome-based services throughout the lifespan to more than 1.5 million people nationwide every year. Plus, we're a powerful advocate at the federal, state, and local levels for the 1 in 4 Americans living with disability. We've served transitioning military, veterans, and their families and caregivers since World War II and continue to be the go-to partner on whom they can rely to ensure their successful transition into civil life. Our goal is to make sure people of all abilities live, learn, work, play, and act in their communities. We provide hands-on, comprehensive, vital programs and support to help people reach their full potential, including adult and senior services, autism services, medical rehabilitation, mental health services, and residential and housing services. We have programs designed to help children and adults learn and often relearn basic functions to help master skills needed to develop and thrive and be sharp and active across the lifespan. This includes an online development screening tool called Make the First 5 Count, assistive technology services, children's services, early intervention, child care, placement, and related services helping people prepare for the workforce. We make sure that everyone can play, have fun, and participate in their communities with healthy programs for children, adults, and caregivers to relax and connect with friends and engage in constructive activities like camp and recreation. We offer respite and support services as well. And we encourage everyone to act through community engagement and outreach, as well as educational programming. We engage in policy that supports our mission. In particular, we started the Black Child Fund to help end racial disparity in healthcare, childcare, and education faced by Black children early and throughout the lifespan. We've also been focusing a lot on mental health, especially during this pandemic, as we grapple with frightening statistics that reflect the challenges we're all facing as a result of the crisis, due to the hardships many have experienced in the past year. At Easterseals, we believe that when people receive the help they need and when they can live in the communities they want, their possibilities are limitless.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Sandy Bond Chapman. I am the founder and chief director of the Center for Brain Health and a distinguished professor at the University of Texas at Dallas. I founded the center, just to tell you a little bit about what we do here, almost 20 years ago as a research institute. Think about this, brain health was such a new concept 2 decades ago that we literally got a trademark on it because people still do not think about their brain in health. Our brain, which is the most complex entity in the known universe, is the only part of our body that we only think about after something bad happens, a brain injury, a disease, or you're diagnosed with something. But guess what? The science of neuroplasticity tells us you can do more before anything bad happens to build capacity, to build reserve, to build resilience from the get-go. And that's really what our unique focus is, and it's unique around the world. Because even when people say we're focused on brain health, they really still are looking at what happens after something goes wrong. So that's what's unique. So I started the center. We grew from really a team of about 27 scientists, research clinicians to over 125. And from that, we were looking at how can we begin to get the rigorous science behind what it means to build brain health. So we wanted to look at brain imaging. We wanted to look at complex cognitive thinking. We wanted to look at psychological well-being, social connectedness, and really your whole real-life function. What's the science of that when people get better? And so that's what we've been focusing on for 2 decades. And now we have the science, and we're translating it. So we opened the Brain Performance Institute almost 4 years ago so that we could translate it to veterans and active duty military and law enforcement officers, teenagers in school, school teachers, people everywhere. Who doesn't need better brain health? That's what we're doing. And then we opened the Brain Health Imaging Center where we're uniquely looking at markers of the brain getting stronger. So why is it, think about this, that people still have so much stigma about their brain? And you know, as we work with high-performing military, they're like, okay, from the body down, we'll build capacity, but the neck up, hey, ma'am, they say that's the no-fly zone. Because people are always afraid that you're going to tell me what's wrong with my brain. And we are what I call category breakers. We're creating a whole new category of health, a category that's defining what it means to build capacity, to build resilience, to build reserve. But if something happens and you do get diagnosed with something, how can you intercept that as soon as possible? How can you rebound from it? And how can you be the strongest version of yourself? And it's not just a small window of time, it's for the rest of your life. Neuroplasticity is the greatest gift that we've been given. And it is that our brain changes moment by every single thing that we do. That's a gift, and it's also a curse. Why is it a curse? Because guess what? About 50% of what we do is bad for our brain. So we really have to think about and know the science of what's good for our brain and what's bad for our brain. And that's what we're doing here at the Center for Brain Health. So we're defining this category of health, and it truly is kind of a higher level of category of health. You know, when people think about their brain, they're always like, well, depression, stress, anxiety. Well, that's one component. It's one silo. But brain health is so much more. It includes that, but it's more than that. It includes your clarity of thinking. It includes your psychological well-being. Fortitude is what we call it. And it also includes resilience, your social connectedness, your purpose in life, and what is it that makes you the best person of who you are. So a whole new category of health is what brain health is. And what we're doing is destigmatizing it. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to go to that Center for Brain Health, the people are going to tell me how bad I am, or I'm afraid you're going to tell me I don't have a brain, is what some people say, or that I'm not very smart. But every single person can be smarter than where they are now, and they can build capacity. And that's what's exciting for us, both as a scientist, a clinician, and really someone who cares about how each one of us can contribute to the world around us in the most important way possible. So we're category breakers. We're also what I would call a little bit radical. We challenge the status quo because we have been stuck far too long in this outdated notion of the brain and think IQ is fixed, or if you get a diagnosis of ADHD, it's fixed, or if you have a learning problem, it's fixed, or if you have XYZ. The individuals, and we've worked with almost 100,000 individuals now, showing that they can improve the capacity of their brain, whether in health, but also in injury and disease. And they say, I love what you all do because so many of the places we go, it's all about labeling, which disables you and it enables you. It enables you by not making you more of what you can be, but when you see what's the capacity building, you empower us.
Hi, my name is Joshua Albright, Director of Behavioral Health for US Vets Houston. I am here to help veterans. One of the reasons that I joined this organization and left a career in mental health in the private sector was because I served as a U.S. Navy hospital corpsman in Fallujah, Iraq in the years of 2004-2005, deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Veterans experience unique challenges that are not encountered in the workplace settings that we know here in America. The support in the military is very limited for veterans with mental health challenges. And then when veterans leave, they often have to deal with burdensome When veterans leave the military, they oftentimes have to interact with the VA to get help, and that process can be quite burdensome. One of the reasons why organizations like US Vets exist is to help veterans navigate the processes at the VA and obtain help that way. We offer supportive services in terms of folks needing help meeting their bills, food insecurity. We offer housing, temporary and permanent housing. We offer counseling, utilizing multiple modalities, primarily CBT and DBT. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. This type of therapy looks at how our thoughts cause our actions. And if we can change our thoughts, then we can change our actions and emotions. DBT deals similarly with that, but DBT also believes that we can influence the emotion to influence thought. So they're very similar modalities. DBT is a little bit more skills focused, with a specific set of skills to help folks navigate difficult things in life, like how to ask for something, how to say no, how to set a boundary, how to process an upsetting situation without judgment. These types of therapy are provided in group therapy sessions primarily. We also offer individual counseling sessions with a licensed therapist. We also are a teaching organization. We have interns, and we have a robust intern program where folks can come and get experience working with veterans, and veterans can provide their life experiences to help shape the career of these young interns. Some of the challenges faced by folks in the military are so different than what you might see in the civilian world. Combat in and of itself is a trauma that the average person cannot understand unless you've been in a traumatic event. And the majority of Americans might experience a trauma in a very kind of temporary sense. For example, maybe like a terrorist attack or being the victim of a violent crime. And that lasts for a certain period of time and then ends. The trauma that military folks experience is ongoing. They will be deployed. For example, I would go on patrol multiple times a day, sleep 3 hours a night, keep at it over and over again, that has an impact on folks' ability to process their emotions at the end of the day and find some peace with what's been occurring. These veterans, these active duty military personnel and veterans who experience crisis often report to their chain of command, who is involved in every aspect of their care. There is no privacy in the military. There is no therapeutic relationship that exists outside the chain of command. So military personnel do not feel comfortable coming forward with their mental health issues to their chain of command because it will directly impact their ability to serve. I experienced these issues myself in Iraq. I had, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. These issues affected me, and, I had to deal with that when I got home. I found dialectical behavioral therapy to be a tool that was very helpful to me and is one of the reasons why I chose to pursue a career in mental health and medicine. After I left the military and got the help that I needed from the VA and private sources, I decided to pursue a career in medicine, went to nursing school through money from the VA to go to nursing school, and then pursued a master's in social work while working in the psychiatric hospitals, private psychiatric hospitals, to achieve a master's in social work and become licensed in that field. I feel such a burden to give back to other veterans because I managed to go through this super dark time when I got home and while I was deployed, and managed to come out on the other side of it as a director of behavioral health. Not everybody achieves something like that when they get home, and I feel a tremendous burden to help other veterans try to find some path that is meaningful for them to achieve success when they get home.
Hi guys, I'm Nathan Silvers. I'm a U.S. Navy Corpsman veteran. I have 3 tours of duty. I work now for an organization called U.S. Vets. We do a lot of good work. We're the largest veteran service organization there is in the country, but a lot of people don't know about what we do. And our mission is to help the successful transition of our military veterans and their families through the provision of housing, counseling, career development, and comprehensive support. Basically, we're helping veterans get back on their feet and realize that they make valuable contributions to our society. I'm one of those veterans, and I'm very fortunate to be blessed to be able to work here and to help other vets. It's therapy for me. I'm very thankful for the good work that I am privileged to be able to do. I'm a case manager with our outreach department, so I get to find the guys that are raw right off the streets, and I'm helping them with their immediate needs, so they're getting some immediate gratification to start looking into what we can offer them and what we can assist them with. And the ultimate goal is self-determination or self-sufficiency for these guys. And one of the things we do is, like, for example, today I gave out 20 different meals, helped veterans wash laundry, helped them with just hygiene kits and shoes and jackets. And we have computer labs, and we're finding these guys that are just right off the street that might not be ready for one of the programs. A lot of these guys don't have a lot of trust in the government because of their experiences of war and combat and everything else. But when they see someone that loves what they do and has a passion for it and is one of them, their guard comes down and they see exactly how much that we can do for them and how we can help them to become that successful person.
My name is Paul De La Cerda. I'm a retired Army Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army. Last duty station was Fort Bragg, North Carolina with the 82nd Airborne Division. And I am 48 years old. So currently, the numbers are a little skewed, but currently the 22 plus one being one active duty, and 22 being the veterans that are committing suicide yearly. You know, we're looking at a significant amount of suicides, and it's pretty daunting to look through the numbers and know that these are actual people that have served our country. They're 1% of our nation's you know, men and women that are in uniform. You know, it's crazy. When they come home from combat, we're as humans, we're not built to go and see the things that we see, the atrocities that we're witnessing during combat. We're just not built for it. We're not raised as kids to say, hey, we're going to go to war one day and see some, you know, death, or see somebody get killed or blown up, or children shot or stabbed, or whatever being the case, right? The violence is that we see in war is pretty remarkable to the extent to where you remember these things for the rest of your life. You know, we're able to go in there and do what we're supposed to be doing. My job, at least, was infantry. I was a paratrooper, and I did what they call route clearance operations. We cleared routes for all of our soldiers to be able to go through safely, so they can transfer goods or whatever it is they might be doing. People or going in to do these different missions, humanitarian missions. So one of the things that we did the most was, you know, try to get human intel and find out where the bad guy is, basically, and kick down doors, you know, clear houses, all those kind of things. So my job was pretty up close and personal. And sometimes we had some IEDs go off and injure some of our guys. Good thing was our unit was one of the first units to come back 100% accountability. We got people that got hurt, but we all came back in one piece, so to say. We didn't have no loss of life. But I was one of those injured, so we had some injuries, but we were such a great group of guys and such an awesome unit to be a part of. Also, as we were so skilled at what we did. We were able to find and identify countless IEDs. And the other thing also was that we were, you know, as war is, we were attacked quite often. So being able to be in the part of a mix like that is something that we signed up for, and we all knew it. So going into this thing, you know, we were witnessing things that like I said before, is no person should ever witness. We were in a company operating base, which means basically we took over a few houses in town, and then we fortified the outside of them, so we stayed in town. You know, we weren't in a forward operating base, which is what they call a FOB. We did that for refit, so we go in and we'll get what we need, and then we'll come back and go back to our base. So we were in the city with the populace, so we were always involved with everybody that was around there. If they needed help, they came to us. And so people coming home from war, you remember every little thing. I remember every street that I went down in Iraq. Every street. I can, if I got placed there today, I could still go down to the same streets. I know exactly where everything's at. And because it's embedded in you to know these things. So if you ever got left alone for whatever reason, you're able to get back to where you're supposed to go. But, you know, we carry these things, and that's what they call PTSD. It's something that's a traumatic event that's happened at one point in your life. That's what PTSD is defined as. It don't have to necessarily to be war. It could be anything. Like someone gets in a car accident and they got PTSD. Someone gets sexual trauma, that's PTSD. So tons of stuff is related to PTSD itself, or post-traumatic stress syndrome. We call it PTS, which is post-traumatic stress. We don't like to use the other term for it because it just doesn't feel good if you say that. I don't know. It just seems like we're not a disorder. It's to us, it's more of a syndrome than it is a disorder, because this disorder means it's not fixable, so to say. So, and the question you asked, you know, is when these people come back, I mean, how do they deal with it? Sometimes they don't. And this is where the suicides come into play, is they can't deal with the pain, they can't deal with all the stuff that they've seen, they can't deal with losing their friends, you know, their buddies, the people that they've come through the military with, and all of a sudden they're gone. Or even worse, you know, when I got blown up, it was like I had all these guys with me. You know, I'm driving, so I felt even more responsible. But, you know, it's like, what if I lost any of them? Then I don't know how I would deal with that. It's survivor's guilt in it, and a lot of them have it. Especially for special operations, when you're so close-knit, like you're dealing with 6 or 7 people all the time versus 12 to 24 people, which is a platoon size element, you know, you're dealing with 6 or 7 people all the time. They become your family. So when you lose one, it's like losing your brother or losing your sister or whatever being the case. And you carry that guilt and that tragedy with you for the rest of your life, no matter what. And to this day, I have a list of people that I can, you know, say off the top of my head of people that I've lost, and it just sucks. So when you ask that question, it's pretty pretty straightforward. You know, we have a tendency to harbor our guilt and all of our all of our anger and all these things toward the situations that we got to put ourselves in. Sometimes we have to question too. So you gotta remember that. We got to question, why did we join the military and we ended up here? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? For me to do what I do now, all the things that I've seen, I had to do something. I had to take action. I'm a man of action because I came in the military as an infantry soldier. We always find a mission and we go and we complete the mission. I have yet to complete the mission that I put myself forth when I got out of the military. I was medically discharged because of my injury, so my career was cut short. I did 15 years in the military, and it was cut short by at least 5 years because I was trying to get my 20. So you know, we're fast forward now to where we're at today, and you know, I'm still doing it. I'm still doing the mission. I got out in 2009, June 1st, and 2010, I think it was around September 2010, I started a Wounded Warrior band, and that band consisted of all wounded warriors from different services, Army, Navy, Marines, you know, Air Force, whatever I could throw in the mix at the time. And we started out with my first iteration called the Warrior Spirit Band. I just kind of came up with that name, and then we kind of went for it. And the funny thing is that it's never been done before. Never has a band of wounded warriors took a mission of suicide prevention and going to military bases and talking about their experience during combat and try to let whoever is in front of them as their audience, being the men and women in uniform or being veterans if we're a veterans function, they see that people in the audience are seeing that they're able to get on stage at one point themselves, are able to push forward by going either through music or finding some other outlet that they can, so they can support their mental health. And that's what the biggest key takeaway is that we're up there not just as musicians, we're up there as wounded warriors. We're a representation of what we were and a representation of what we are, which means that we overcame some of our disabilities, quote unquote, because those disabilities, PTSD, traumatic brain injury like myself, or being blown up back injuries, neck injuries, whatever being the case injury you have, you overcame it to be on stage performing for them at that point. And then the music you write also has a message behind it as well.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Dillon, commander of VFW Post 3903, Rosenberg, Texas. We are here to serve our veterans in any capacity that we can do to help them out, whether it be monetary assistance, helping them get their VA benefits. I have a wonderful service officer, and he goes above and beyond the call of duty to help our veterans. Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, is exactly what it stands for. You have to be a veteran and served in a foreign war to get your eligibility to become a member. However, we do have help also for non-members or non-members of the VFW. So we won't turn any veteran away if they come and ask for assistance. There are a lot of young veterans out there that can become members of the VFW, and we are constantly recruiting new members. It's a battle that we all fight every day to try to get new members involved with the VFW. VFW has a auxiliary, which my wife Margie will talk to you about, and how members, spouses can become members of the auxiliary.
I'm Margie Dillon, and I've been president of this auxiliary for 5 years. This is our 5th year. And 5 years ago, the organization changed from ladies to just auxiliary so we could get men membership. You know, there's a lot of men out there that have never served, but they have fathers and brothers and sisters and mothers that have served, so they wanted to also help. And the auxiliary, we help with all the programs that the VFW does. And we give scholarships to local students, and you do not have to be a child of a veteran to get these scholarships. And the VFW, we have all kinds of programs like the art programs and Patriotic Pen and Voice of Democracy, which the students, they turn in essays and they compete for them. And on each level, you know, the auxiliary level, the local, the district, state, and then national. And they can move all the way up. So we have been, this auxiliary has been in existence since the 40s. So we try to keep everything in the community. We do not have any fundraisers except bingo. That's our only fundraiser. And all the funds, other than operating expense, goes back into the community and for the veterans.
The VFW's slogan, if you want to say that, is that no one does more for veterans than the VFW. And we stand by that each and every day.
Hello, my name is Valerie James. I'm the founder and CEO of VAST, Veteran Advocate Services and Training. I'm also a 13-year Army veteran, and I started VAST after I was homeless, 2 bouts of homelessness due to undiagnosed mental illness. When I finally got stable and housed, I realized there were a lot of gaps in the veteran service community, and VAST fills them. We find veterans on the street, we find them in jail, and we get them the help they need. We get them to housing, then we get them mental health, we get them to veteran treatment court, because there's usually some kind of criminal charges that have to be dismissed or taken care of. Then we get our vets stabilized through employment, and then we make them, we give them back their mission. We bring them in as mentors, life experience mentors with VAST. My story is, I grew up in a really rough area, Jersey City, New Jersey. I suffered a great deal of mental illness that was later diagnosed as schizophrenia. I heard voices, I responded to them, and a lot of times I got so depressed, I tried to kill myself. I did everything from slit my wrist to even actually try to hang myself. I never told my family, who I was very close to, I never told them about it. They didn't know until later on, after I'd at least tried 4 times. I'm very fortunate that I survived, and I'm here to tell you right now, if you're having thoughts of suicide, I know it feels like there's a building laying on us, right? There is just this weight on us that we cannot lift, but the weight can be moved. It just requires help. Especially if we're in the community of veterans, if we're first responders, a lot of times we're the ones running towards the fire. We're getting people out of harm's way. What happens there is we forget about ourselves. We see terrible things. We have pain and trauma upon pain and trauma while saving others, and by the time we realize it, it's almost too late. We're caught in our own trauma. If it seems like it's impossible to move the weight, that's normal, that's okay, because it's a lot of weight over a lot of years. But I'm here to tell you, after 3 or 4 attempts, serious attempts at suicide, you can get help. Relief is possible. I sit here now, a very stable entity of the veteran community, actually a pillar of it. What I do is I get people off the streets, I get them out of jail. But I too went through that pain that you were going through right now of trying to kill themselves. If you need help, just reach out. You can reach out to a buddy, reach out to mental health. Just get the help you need. So get professional help. When I first heard mental health, I balked because I was like, I don't need help. I'm a hero. I'm one of the people who saves lives. I don't need someone trying to save mine. There are two numbers that help me get from homeless on the street suffering and suicidal to stable and a pillar in the community. One of them is easterseals. The number is 713-838-9050. The second number, and a lot of veterans do not know this, they just go to the ER to get help, but the VA has a mental health phone number you can call, and that number is 713-794-8454. It will put you straight through to the VA mental health of the Michael E. DeBakey.